for you to kind of look back on and get a bit of a feel for your experience.
Okay, that would be cool as well.
So by way of introduction, I guess part of the reason for us to get together today is really just to talk through. I know when we've caught up, you've mentioned bits and pieces about your journey and what the coaching's given you and all of that. So, and we both agree that sometimes it's easier to just talk things through as opposed to kind of documenting it in a written document. But also, from my perspective, Halima, I get asked this question all the time, like, what is it that coaching, gives you, or what are the results for your clients? I can only really speak from my experience. Like when I've experienced coaching, I can say what that did for me and, my various different iterations of it. And so I just really appreciate you spending some time now to kind of share that with others, because it's so valuable, just because it is one of those things in life which isn't so it's not always tangible. People come to coaching for so many different reasons that unless you're hearing someone else's story, you can start to apply that a little bit in your own life. So that's really what I thought would be great. I do have a couple of questions that I'd love to ask you, but before we get started, is there anything in particular that you'd love to share? Or kind of by way of
just I guess my journey with coaching, it was the first time I did coaching, and it was with you. I remember not really sure what it was that that I needed, and I wasn't I couldn't understand what was going on in my life, and I didn't understand why things were not clear. So it felt like there were lots of barriers. And I didn't have a clear direction to which way I was supposed to go. And so there was a lot of things happening in my life as well, and a lot of underlying beliefs that were just swimming around inside me. And I wasn't able to understand that was the cause of it, the underlying beliefs and how I feel about myself and the experiences in the past that obviously got me to where I was.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that's sharing a little bit about perhaps some areas where you felt a bit stuck before coming into our sessions together. So perhaps it'd be useful just to share a little bit more about, I guess, just generally, where were you in life? I know you said there were some barriers or things holding you back, but what was it specifically, I guess, that made you think, oh, maybe coaching is a thing that I will benefit from? Yeah.
I didn't have control of what was happening around me. I just felt like things were just happening to me. And it wasn't a decision that I made. I wasn't making any conscious decision to, decide something happened. I was at the beginning of a divorce, and I wasn't really, you can imagine, I was feeling really, really low. I had a business to run, and I had this feeling where I was I don't really want to do anything. And I don't really want to make any progress. So I was just feeling like something was stopping me from just getting up and saying, okay, what is the next thing I need to do? Let me do that. Let me make progress in my life. Instead, I was just at a standstill where I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to kind of give up on everything.
Yeah. And what I love about what you've just shared then, because I know we've obviously spent a little bit of time together, so I know a little bit more. And what I love about what you've just shared, that even in that kind of state of oh, I'm just so stuck and there's all this stuff that's happening to me and I feel like I have no control, there was something about that whole situation that still made you kind of say, yeah, I want this to change, or I want this to be different. And I guess I just want to acknowledge you for putting your hand up in amongst all of that, because I feel like that, definitely in my own experience as well, one of the first times I experienced coaching, I particularly felt completely lost. Anyone I talked to, even though I had beautiful friends and family and, my partner to speak to in my life, it was no, you don't get it. No, you can't help me. That was the feeling that I had. So I really kind of acknowledge you for saying, hang on, maybe you can help me. Could you tell us a little bit about that? How did you get from that feeling to being oh, maybe I'll try something? How did you take that first step?
I think it was although I was feeling everything was not working out, a part of me wanted more. A part of me wanted to just get rid of that feeling, get rid of feeling like stuck and not being able to do anything with my life. And so, like, when I met you, and I wasn't really sure like what it could do to me, like could do for me. Sorry,
Yeah.
but I took a chance. Like I wanted to. I just wanted to make sure that, like, basically I had hope. That's what it was. I had hope that things could change. Like, and I had to believe that things could change. And so I started to just look around and start to see any opportunities that could get me out of this
Yeah.
situation. And it's funny because when you're feeling like nothing is working out, and then you feel like you give up on everything, it's the universe doesn't like help you, like, kind of. But when you have like this yearning to be better and to improve, then that's when the universe almost like turns things around and it says, here's an opportunity. And I couldn't believe it because it happened at the exact same time. Like, I was like, oh wow, like this came at like such a good time. But I wasn't sure what it was because I had done therapy before, and it helped me understand the past and what was going on. But I felt like there wasn't a lot of progress that happened. Like I had to do it like session after session after session to see just a small amount of change. Whereas like with coaching, it just completely changed how I see like myself and my internal thoughts, and my outlook to everything. I just like, it made me believe that things are possible now again, you know?
I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so beautiful to hear as well. Like, even though, let's just call it this stuckness or something shows up for you in your life, to have the belief that actually this could be different, this could change. And what I heard and what you just shared is that was the distinction for you, is like, I believed things could be different. So when I started to look for things to be different, that's where some opportunities started to come out. How,
Yeah.
I guess, perhaps since the sessions, what is it that you're noticing that you're actually doing differently? Like, what's the thing that's kind of changed forever for you?
Oh yeah. When you like want to change, like, so like there's a lot of courses online that will promise like to change your life and to make things different, to have money in the bank, and to find love. And it's like, people like kind of have this hope that it will work. But I've tried all of that. I've tried like different courses. I've tried, and nothing has really worked as much as like coaching has.
Okay.
Like, since I did it, like I was able to, now I have an asset in my company. I have a 1 month course that I created from the very beginning till the end. I've run the course, so I've launched it, and I've made money, like my first ever, like without like one-to-one lessons, English lessons.
Yeah.
So students just log on and do the lessons, watch the videos, do the assignments. And I never thought that was possible. And that's the biggest thing that happened after like all the dramatic things that have happened in my life. Like there's no way, like a few months back, and it wasn't that far back ago, like, right, like that we did the coaching. It wasn't like,
Yeah. So we're end of the year now, and it would have been in the summer, like late summer.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, like just before August, we started the sessions. And by then I went to the first event that happened like after the coaching was like, I had a networking event in San Diego, and I was absolutely terrified of like meeting people. But like I went, like, I just kind of pushed that aside and decided that I would, follow the advice that you gave me, and like those feelings that I would get, like, in order to get to where I want to be. And so when I went there was like, I wanted to tell you this because it was so cool. I went there, and there were like everybody, like I was early. There was only one table that was like half full. So there were empty tables all around, and my instincts is to go to the empty table.
Yeah.
go on my phone and just ignore everybody in the room. But instead, I decided to sit with the women with the half a table, and they looked at me. It was kind of unusual because it's just like I almost like just asked them, "Hey, can I sit here?" And that's just like so, like, far from my character. And so they noticed that I was a little bit uncomfortable, but I was still trying to like do my best to be present there. And so they started to notice that I was kind of a little bit shy, and they understood that, and there was other people that were shy, and I was able to connect with them better because they were like, oh my god, I just want to run away from this like situation. I was like, I want to run away too. And what I realized is that everybody shares the same kind of anxiety. It's not just me, right? And so like I was able to, because of that just one situation, I was able to connect with these women, and then at the end of the event, I stayed in contact with these women, the women that I took a chance on, and I didn't just like walk away and say I don't want to like get to know them. And so every other week we get together online and we're helping each other with our businesses. So like if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have these amazing women giving me feedback, telling me like, which direction I should be going. And so then it kind of created this snowball effect where just little tiny, things that I was doing differently created this ripple effect where it helped me with everything. So, yeah. And so that was the first thing. And then the second thing after I left, that's when the low came, and I got the papers in the post the exact day that I came. I saw this big envelope and I was like, oh God. And so then I went in my room and I cried and cried and cried and cried. And then I had to just pick myself up again. And I did more coaching sessions with you. I remember when I came back, and I felt like, I don't remember if we did it before that, or like, was it after I came back? Did we do? Yeah, we did one final one. Okay, yeah. And so we did one, and then that's when I started to really believe in my ability to be able to create and produce things. I had no, like, I was struggling with what I could do and what I couldn't do as a person. So I felt like I could do, like, I had one skill that I had. And I thought, okay, I only have one skill, and that's the only thing I can do. Yeah. But you were able to teach me that that wasn't the only thing I was capable of doing. And that belief started happening when I was in San Diego. I started to believe in my ability. And then I started to hear people talk about my abilities too. But, like, I don't know how to explain this, but so imagine, like, if you don't believe in your abilities, you are now not able to also understand when other people appreciate your abilities.
Yeah, right? I love that.
And so people were starting to get attracted to who I was as a person. I would have people like sitting way like in the event, like I have so many things to share, and I'm just like, which one do I share? Like, there's so many moments.
You're doing great. I want to pause you there for a moment before you share this next one, because I want everyone who's listening to really hear something really key. And one of the things that you've just shared is this beautiful thing where you said it was just these little things. It were these little things that then started this ripple effect. And I think that's so critical for people to hear, particularly when we can get a little bit caught up on this one big change needs to magically make everything disappear. And it's not often the case. Like, often the case in kind of just shifting small perspectives or ways we look at things, or the beliefs that we bring to things, can really create these ripples. And I want to thank you for sharing the example of walking into that room and feeling so nervous, because, for those listening, Halima's not doing justice to, how she was feeling before attending this event, right? So for anyone who's ever been in that situation where you're not, I've had this experience as well, where you're having the conversation inside your head, but you're not speaking up, right? Because you're so afraid that you might say something wrong, or, trip over, or be judged, or be kicked out of the group, whatever it is. Like, we come up with all these crazy things. And I know Halima said, some of, the advice through the coaching program supported her with that. And I want to just kind of reflect something back to you, Halima, because yes, there's some advice, but what you did with it is you took on some of that challenge around the beliefs that and stories you'd created, and you actually turned it into something. So you walking into that room, no matter how you were feeling, you could easily have sat at that chair. You could easily have sat at the one that you normally would have done. What shifted for you is that you chose to do something differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the critical change, because a lot of people come to coaching possibly thinking I want this big grand fix, but actually it's these small choices. It's just decisions we make time and time again that will shift the result. So
Yes,
I really love that. What else was coming to mind when you were thinking in terms of maybe now, you know, a couple of months on, you know, what do you notice that's different in what you're doing? I know that you said you're now that you're open to believing this about yourself, you actually can hear it reflected to you.
Yes, exactly. And so like I just wanted to share just one little thing that happened at the event that I forgot to share with you.
Please.
So what happened was the entire time the speakers were asking questions. And so like people would put their hand up and they would answer questions. And I'm just not that person that would put their hand up and speak. And so I waited and waited and waited, and I was like, I want to do it. I want to speak up in front of everyone. And I saw an opportunity where the person, it was like a big speaker, and we had to line up to speak to the speaker. And I just got up. I didn't think about it. And this is like completely like against like my nature completely. So I was in the line and I was waiting. Like the person in front of me was asking questions and so on and so on. And so like what happened was I was like, this is your chance to run away. This is your chance to run away. You can run away. Nobody will even notice because you're like, standing by the line. They probably think you're going to get something from the bag and then you can just run away and you don't have to face this. And the voice in my head and that like just was very firm and said, you are not moving from where you're standing. I was like, okay, cool. And so I stood there and it was my turn. And I went in front of the people. I said, hello, everyone. I'm an ESL teacher and I have a question regarding copywriting. And that, like, so I asked my question and the woman was like, starting to like answer. And then she turned around. She was walking across the stage. As soon as she turned around, I just walked away from the mic and ran to my table. And I sat down at my table. I'm like, okay, safe place. And then she was like, still explaining. Then she turns around. There's nobody there. And she was like, where did she go? Like, and everybody just looked at me on the table. I was like, oh God. But the thing is, what happened, that little small like thing that I did, that I went above and beyond what I wanted, like against my like comfort zone, like I would say.
Yeah.
I got like around 10 women during the break come up to me and say, I'm an ESL teacher. I used to be an ESL teacher. Here's my business card. Here's how we can work together.
Yeah.
And it kept happening and happening and happening. I had like about 30 like business cards in my hand. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Like, it's just the small things. Like you said, how I felt after doing that, I was like, this is somebody completely that I don't even recognize. But I felt so proud of myself and I felt so good. And it made the whole event for me. Like, I was like, oh, wow. Like, it was like I couldn't meet everybody at the event, but that was like a great way to just introduce myself.
Yeah.
Like, and this is a girl that I was scared to even go and speak to people, like just face to face. It's like such a big difference. Yeah.
They're such great examples. And, I really acknowledge you for that stretch of the comfort zone as well. How are you continuing to kind of stretch that comfort zone now on a kind of day-to-day basis after having a couple of these big events to really practice it in? How does it show up for you more on the kind of daily basis now?
I feel like I believe that things are possible. I believe that if you want something to happen, you just have to plan. You just have to understand like what is it that you want fully, and then just start to take steps towards that. And it's not as big as we see it as. Like now I want to be by next year I think you've seen a post that I said I want to be able to speak on TEDx, and that's like wow, like it's crazy. But what I started to do is take steps. So I've joined a Toastmaster meeting near my house, which I'm going to be attending every single Monday in order to improve my speech. And so obviously I feel a bit insecure with my speech, but that shouldn't be something that like should hold me back. You know, you can only try. You can only like improve on things that you feel you're weak at. We're not perfect, and it's not like, oh, I'm perfect at everything and I can do everything. You understand your weaknesses and you're like, okay, I have a weakness, but now what do I do? Like internally, what is it that I need to do in order to reach from A to B? And it's not like, oh, I can't even do it, so before I've even like thought about it, I give up. And so now I just know in my mind, okay, this is what I want to do. How do like break it down so that I know how to do it? I know how to achieve that one thing that I need to achieve.
So, okay, this is a beautiful example. I want others to hear this as well. So when you signed up for this Toastmasters group, how did you feel?
I was scared. I was scared because so I said I really want to join this masters. Was Toastmasters, and I said, okay, I will like join them. I checked online, and they said, call and contact these people. And I didn't want to call them. I didn't want to do it. And so what would have ended up happening is it would have just been a thought. But instead, I took like one tiny action, and I spoke to the guy, and he said, looking forward to meeting with you. Just like arrange what you're going to talk about, introduce yourself, and say something wise. And I was like, okay, like that just happened. I took the action in order to step it up a little bit. Like I'm not staying in the same level. Is it, what do I need to do to get from A to B? There are certain things in the middle. And so just having that internal dialogue of things are more possible than believing that, just because it looks like it's out of reach, that it's not possible.
Yeah. And I really wanted people to hear that. Thank you so much for your honesty there, Halima, because for those of you listening, did you sense Halima's response there? She's like, I was scared, right?
Yeah.
So, what's beautiful about this is just bringing the point back home that change can be uncomfortable. Change can be uncertain. We don't necessarily always have control over it. And yet by breaking it down into these little steps that, Halima said is really supporting her right now, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, and then you can take the step and you can get the reward and you can see the result, and then you grow and you grow into that. And, this is such a beautiful example, even in signing up to a Toastmasters group, that can bring up some stuff. Whereas, your old strategy might have been to just leave it. What I've heard and what you're sharing is now what you do is you feel the scare, that scared feeling, and you break it down and you take a little action and you do the next thing and the next thing.
Yes.
Is there, I guess, if someone was coming to you and saying, sharing with you they're feeling really stuck in their lives, or like, is coaching right for them, or, should they or shouldn't they consider a program, what would you say to them?
I believe that everybody should have a coach. I really do. I've been trying to get like my family members into coaching. Anybody who would listen, I am like trying to like really, tell them about coaching, especially people that are struggling with certain things in their lives and trying to like get from A to B, but there's something blocking them. And also, like, I do believe that coaching is not just for people that are struggling with life. I do believe that even if your life is going well, it's a great way to continue that. It's a great way to really understand yourself and make things even more fruitful and more colorful.
That's beautiful.
Like I don't think that it's just for people that are struggling, that are having problems in their lives. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful way to describe it. I love that. And thank you so much for those beautiful words. It's to make things more fruitful and colorful. What a cool way to kind of bring our conversation to a close. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
What else would I like to share? I think the biggest thing is like when people think about coaching, they think about, I guess this is a bit controversial, is like they think about like how much it would cost them as like, you know, how much it would cost them to pay for coaching. And I just believe that it's just worth every penny. I like, if you can like even put money aside and think, okay, you know, in a few months, like I want to be able to do that. It is going to be the biggest like investment in yourself that you can do. And it's after that, you're just going to feel like, you know, like it's, I feel like, how do I describe this? I feel like the amount of like return that you get is just, it doesn't match up to what like is, you know, like the investment is not the same. I'm saying, like, you know, that like like you probably could go and spend money on like, say, restaurants or going and buying clothes, and just taking that money and investing it in something like this, something that could change your life around, could, you know, bring all these successes and all these happy, like it brings happiness to your life, and it makes you feel like you see things clearly. It's like someone giving you a piece, like it's like a pair of glasses, and you're like, okay, things are much clearer. I like me, you know. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like all inside, but
Great
yeah.
metaphor. I love that. It's like you're, you know, because definitely in my own experience, it's like you're kind of like looking through really dirty or blurry glasses, and you can't understand
Yeah.
things. You know, you're not moving forward. You can't understand why you keep tripping up over the same, you know, over the same thing in the hallway, whatever it is. And that's such a cool way to put it, is like actually picking up clear glasses and seeing your life, you know, through a slightly different perspective, but with clarity, like with clearness, with that crispness, having that direction. And that's such a cool, you know, drop of wisdom to share around, you know, hesitations, because I think people, you know, all of us, myself included, can have hesitations to invest in things that we have some uncertainty over. You know, when you don't know exactly what you're going to get, right? And what you've shared is, it's, you know, it's almost like that investment gets magnified. Whilst it feels a little bit scary to stretch into that uncomfortable zone right now, the rewards and the benefits continue long after. Yeah. Thank you so
Yes,
much for
absolutely.
that. That's just
No, my
beautiful.
pleasure.
So many people are going to get so much value out of just hearing a little bit about your story, in particular, that similarly at a bit of a transition point, looking for more fruitfulness or color in their lives, or just wanting to get past a stuck point. I absolutely know that this is going to help them tremendously. So thank you so much for sharing.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm just going to